Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So now basically today we are going to discuss about the map, filter and reduce. These three functions which we have in Python programming, right? So first of all, I would let you know that basically why we just use these three parameters, these three functions into our Python programming codes. And after that, basically we'll be writing the codes for all of the threes, right? So map, filter and reduce are the paradigms of functional programming, right? So this is absolutely okay. After that, basically why we just use this map, filter and reduce, right? So we just use this map, filter and reduce because they allow the programmer, basically you are the programmer, right? So it basically allows the programmer to write simpler, shorter code without necessarily needing to bother about intricacies like loops and branching, right? So this is the main use, that why actually map, filter and reduce are used, because actually they allow you, basically the programmer, write the simpler, shorter code, and basically you need not to bother too much about the loops and branching and all those things. Okay, this basically keeps you a little bit apart from loops and branching. So this is the main reason that why map, filter and reduce are actually used in Python programming, right? So we had understood that why we just use it, right? What is the use? Now let's move on to that, basically how to write and use these functions into the Python programs. So here I would just start up with the map function. After that we'll be seeing a filter, then reduce. Okay, so one hash, and like this I would just write here map. Okay, and like this again I would just put it. Fine. Now let's say I just want to define a list. Okay, I have taken a list, let's say, and the variable in which I'm just storing the list, that is num. Okay, so let's say num is equal to 5, 6, 7, 8, and let's say comma 2, 3, 4. Right, so this is the variable which we have taken, and inside this variable we had stored a list, right? Now I want to do the square of these square of all the numbers which I have here. So instead of using the for loop, while loop and applying several conditions, what I can just do is that simply I can just use my map function. Okay, so let's say I just took a variable that is sq, that is basically referring to my square. Okay, square of a number. So sq is equal to, and in this I will be taking the list, right? Inside the bracket I'll be using out my map function, and even in the bracket I'll be using my lambda function, right? So lambda x, I put the colon, and that is x multiplied by x, right? This is basically what we just want, comma, and I would just writing here as num. Fine, and this is basically, and I will simply print out my sq, that is a square. So this map is actually the function which is again and again going and listing to these indexes and basically resulting with the output and all those things. This map function is actually performing, right? I would just now try to run out my program here and just see, have a look that I just got the square of all the numbers here, that is 5 square is 25, 6 square is 36, 7 is 49, 8 is 64, 2 is 4, 3 is 9 and 4 is 16, right? These are the squares which we have. So this is actually how we just use the map function. Okay, that is okay. This is one of the programs that we have done. Another example for map function, another example, right? We do not have only one example, we have one more, that is second example as well. Okay, let me define a function here. Let's say that function is square. Okay, and in the bracket let me pass a parameter, that is a. Okay, now what this function will actually return? This function will actually return me a multiplication a, that is the square of numbers. Fine, I would define another function, that is cube, and again in the bracket I would pass the a parameter, right? Now what this will actually return? This will actually return me triple times a multiplication, a multiplied by a multiplied by a, right? That is absolutely fine. Now what if I just make a function, and into this function I just pass on this square comma cube. Okay, I just made a list and I just passed this square and cube basically into a variable, that is function. Okay, this is actually what I just did, and I can apply a loop that for I in range. Okay, so for I in range, and in bracket it is 4. Like let's say I just want to print out the square and the cube till 4 numbers. Okay, then I would take a variable that is value is equal to, and I would just pass on that list here because I just made the list for the variable in which I had stored the square and cube, right? I just made the list. So I just stored value is equal to list, right? And after that, basically, I would be passing on my map function here using that map function. And inside the bracket, it would be simple. That is my lambda function, lambda x colon x, and in the bracket, it's just I, right? And here, what I would just do, I would just call the function, right? The function variable in which I have just written my square and cube, right? And now it will simply print me out the value, that is print, and after that it is value, right? And now when I would just run out my program, so just have a look here that what output I am getting. So see, first it is taking me till 4 numbers because I have written the range till 4. So it has automatically started from the 0th value. So 0, 0, square is also 0, cube is also 0. Now for the 1 also the values are actually same. Move on towards the 2. So for 2, the square is 4 and the cube is 8, right? And for the 3, the square is 9 and the cube is 27. And whatever the range you just put on here, it will go up to that particular range here. Fine. So I hope that you had got a fair and a clear idea that how actually we just use this map function while writing out the programs. Fine. Now let me just quickly comment out this program as well, and now I'm just moving towards the filter function. So map is actually complete. I would just put a hash here and I would just add the name, that is filter. Okay, that is filter, and then just like this. Fine. Now come on to the next line. Basically here I would again be defining a list, let's say. Okay, that is, let's say, my list 1 now. So list 1 is equal to, let's say I just passed on some values into this list. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay. Now what if I just want to, so like print the numbers which are greater than 3. Let's say I just want to print out the numbers which are greater than 3. So in that case, what I would just, okay, I'm sorry, I just make a function for that. So def, and the name for my function would be, let's say, greater, and in the bracket I'll be passing here one variable, let's say that is number. Okay, and the colon, come on to the next line. And basically what it will return, it will basically return me the numbers greater than 3, right? Come on to the next line. So basically here I would be making that greater as a variable. So greater is equal to list, and now here I would be applying my filter function. Okay, filter function. So greater is equal to filter, and into the bracket I would again pass on the values, that is my my function name is greater, and into this function I have the, and which variable I just want to check upon. So I just want to check upon the list 1, right? I just want to apply this greater function onto the list 1, and simply I just want to print here as greater. Simply I want to print here as greater, right? And now I would just again run out my program. So basically have a look that it is basically resulting me the answer, that is 4, 5. So 4, 5 is basically greater than 3, right? I just applied a condition that return me the numbers that are greater than 3. So in that case, I am getting here 4 and 5, right? Because 4 and 5 are greater than 3, right? So this is basically how we just use out this filter function in Python programming. Right, now let me just quickly comment out this filter as well. Now basically it's the turn for dealing with the reduce function. Okay, now basically we'll be seeing that what is that reduce function and how we just apply this. So actually reduce is a function which comes with library. Okay, which basically comes with a module. As simply we're writing the filter and map, we do not write the reduce function like this. So for reduce, actually we just use a import method, import some library, and after that we just write out the reduce method function. Okay, right, let me just show you how. So I would just write here the name for the library, that is fun tools. Okay, so that is not fun tool, that is func TWLS. That is FUNC Okay, so from func tools, I would be importing my reduce function here. Okay, so basically from my func tools, import the reduce function. Right, this is the thing that do. After that, come on to the next line, and let's say I just define out my list. That is my list 2. Okay, and into this I can just pass out some several values. Let's say 5, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, so these are the 5 values that I have passed. Let me initialize a variable, that is num, and that is basically equal to 0. Right, so I can now just apply my for conditions. So for I in list 2, list 2 is a variable in which I have stored my list, right? That is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for I in list 2, and I would just write here as num is equal to num plus 1. Num is equal to not 1, it is I. Num is equal to num plus I. Okay, and I would simply print out here the num. Okay, I would simply print out num. So this is basically how we just do if we just want to like print some numbers and all those. If I just want to print the addition of all the numbers, this is how I will be doing that. Now, if I run my program, I would be getting the answer. But if the same thing I want to apply without using the loops, so in that case, basically, I would be applying out my reduce function that we have imported right now. So how will I be doing that? So I'll be writing num is equal to, and here I'll be like using the reduce. Okay, so num is equal to reduce, and in the bracket, I'll be passing on my lambda function. So num is equal to reduce lambda x comma y, putting the colon here, and I would simply write x plus y, right? Comma, and I would just add on my list 2 here. Right, this is the procedure that I would be applying here if I just want to find out the addition of all the numbers which I have in my list with the help of the reduce function. And at last, I would simply print out my num. Right, so I would just even run out my program once here. So just have a look that I'm just getting the same answer which I was getting previously while running out my for loop. Right, so I hope that you have got a clear and a fair idea that basically how we use the map, reduce and filter functions and how are they actually useful in the Python programming. Let me just quickly revise the definition and the things that why it is used one more. So they allow the programmer to write simpler, shorter code without necessarily needing to bother about the loops and the branching. Right? This is the main use of map, filter, and reduce functions that we had seen, and even you had just seen the examples, right? That it was basically how it was helping us to make the code shorter. Right? So this is all for